The Long Walk Home, written by Michael Pennington, voiced by Michael Pennington. I left the party at about 3 a.m. The year was 1974, and I lived in Visalia, California. It hadn't been a good night, and it had only gotten worse when my car wouldn't start. I was at a friend's house, and everybody inside was either too drunk or passed out to help me, so I decided to just walk home and have my buddy come over to get me tomorrow and take me back to my car. It was late fall and the night was chilly. I put on my hoodie and started the 2-mile walk. I was slightly buzzed but not drunk. At most, I just needed to sleep. When I hit Moore Road, I saw that road workers were on an all-night construction and there was tons of highway equipment active. I decided to take the long walk home, downtown. This required me to loop around a few blocks to get to my own house. It wasn't too long into my walk when I heard the noise behind me. The streets were dead silent and not many street lights were on, oddly enough. I turned around, but I didn't see anything. The noise had sounded like footsteps. It had made the hair stand on the back of my neck, even as a full-grown man. Since there was nobody there, I just picked up my pace and kept going. The air now had a fine mist, and I took in a breath of this fresh, wet night air. I hadn't walked alone on a street since I was a kid, so this was nice despite my frustration with my car. I took a corner and entered J Street. The ground was now saturated with water as it began to sprinkle. Again, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned quickly to see a man about 20 feet away, ducked behind a white picket fence that lined the front yard to an old Victorian-style home. I was a tough guy that could hold my own, and I wasn't afraid of anything. I stood there wondering if I should be mad or a bit nervous. After all, this person was stalking me. What if he had a gun? I felt dehydrated from the beer I drank, and I was in no mood for a 3 a.m. scuffle with some moronic stranger seemingly trying to rob me. I put my ego aside and walked on, checking frequently behind me just to make sure he didn't creep up on me. I made it a few more blocks and was about a mile from home when the person again appeared behind me on the sidewalk. I don't know how he had done this because I had kept an eye over my shoulder just about every 30 seconds. He was fast. I decided to stand my ground and stare him down. He was 20 yards away or so. A switchblade knife popped from his hand, and I saw the shine of the blade in the streetlight as he passed. Back then, this was the knife of choice to carry. I turned and decided if I were going to fight this guy, I would only do it if necessary. I was not completely sober and my head was still spinning slightly. This guy had caught me at a bad time on a bad night. Walking briskly, I took another corner, then decided to jog the sidewalk to put some distance between us. I would have given anything for some water at that point. After about 50 feet of not looking back, I stopped and turned. The man was now 15 feet behind me, and he was standing still. It was very scary. He was as big as me, and he had on a dark hoodie with the hood pulled over his head, blue jeans, and what looked like black tactical boots. The knife was still in his hand. I bent over, keeping my eye on him, panting for wind. I was not only out of shape when it came to running, I was feeling ill now as my stomach began to rumble. Again, I was slightly dehydrated, exhausted from partying, and still tipsy. I was fair game for any man who could hold his own, who had a knife, despite my physical stature and strength. I simply had nothing left in my tank. I was completely and utterly exhausted. half-ass catching my breath, I stood up straight and said to him, "Listen, dude, I'm the wrong man to fuck with. I ain't got no money anyways. You might just want to fuck off, okay?" He said nothing in return. Then he started to walk towards me stiffly and quickly. I took a deep breath and assumed he was hell-bent on robbing me, and I took off too. All I could do was muster a slow, steady-paced jog, and even that was killing me. I looked behind me. He was keeping up with me by simply just walking. I had two choices at this point because I was not going to outrun this guy. Not tonight. There were no cell phones back in the day, so I couldn't make a call. I could either run to a house and pound on the door, or stand and fight with as little energy as I had. On this stretch of road, however, the houses had been constructed into museums for the town's history. These homes were all vacant. I was now nauseated and felt like I needed to vomit. This would make me vulnerable, of course. My stomach turned as my body grew weak, just as it does before you get sick. Then I saw the man make a run for me as I bent my head down to vomit. I guess my reflexes kicked in because I put up a weak hand in his face, but he easily swatted my hand down. He brought the knife up high. I knew I was going to take it as I began to dry heave. Just then, a siren sounded off around the corner and a police car raced over to where we were, spotlighting us both. The man fled with incredible speed through a backyard and he was gone. The officer didn't give chase but assisted me, thinking I had been attacked. I guess somebody had called the cops. I wound up not getting sick after all. I took in some deep breaths and answered the officer's questions. He gave me some water and even a ride home. Back in those days, police would do that with no problem. Now, some 44 years later, I look back on that night and realize I was most likely stalked by the Visalia ransacker. This criminal would break into houses in Visalia and steal personal items from people. But it got worse. This same man would later go on to graduate from breaking and entering to rape to murder, as he became known as the original Night Stalker, to finally the Golden State Killer. As you probably already know, he was just recently apprehended after all these years of eluding authorities. I was able to see his face and his eyes. It all matches the person now being convicted for all these crimes. I'll never forget that face. I can't be completely sure, of course, that it was him, but he also physically fit the description of the convict known as Joseph DeAngelo. I would put my life on it. It's kind of fun and frightening all at once in my 70s that I can tell my grandchildren that I was most likely stalked by the then Visalia ransacker, soon to be known as the Golden State Killer. This same man had went on to not only rape and murder people in their homes in the area of Visalia and Citrus Heights, he also shot a man in cold blood for being in the wrong place at the wrong time as he was snooping around a yard at night. Had that police car not around at the corner at that very second, I would have been his first victim. I haven't drank a drop of alcohol since that night, more than 40 years ago, and I have never, ever took a detour home again.